Hello, Soul Fam. This is Renee here with Inside Job Healing, coming to you on this very exclusive astrological week. We have been battling the effects of the Saturn-Uranus conjunction all year. It's been highlighted in January and February, as I've mentioned before. It's being highlighted again. It was last week and this week because it's in a T-square to Mars, which is the planet of sex and drive and ambition and action and motivation. And also it's going to be highlighted again in November and December. So if I were you, those are the months to avoid making major decisions or life changes. So that's January, February, June, July, and November and December. So let's talk about what's going on. So basically we already know that Uranus is the planet of surprises, good and bad, unpredictability, sudden changes, and expecting the unexpected. And then we already know that Saturn is the planet of restriction, limitation, government, the status quo, bureaucracy, things like that. So we're having this opposition, which means that we're being called to make sudden and very important changes to get us out of feeling stuck or the old paradigm, but we're also being challenged by Saturn, which is the old guard, which is the past, which is limitation and restriction. So a lot of us have been having this push and pull. It's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So what's happening with that this week is now it's in a T-square to Mars. So it's very explosive. It's kind of like, you can't sit on the fence anymore. And so now it's not to make sudden and, changes out of frustration, or you're like, oh my God, I can't stand this job anymore, I'm going back to school. So it's not the time to do that, to make these impulsive changes because you're being put under such a pressure cooker this week. It's actually a time to follow through with some of the changes that you've already set into play during December and January and February. So if there's something that's been long-term in the hopper, like for example, you have been thinking about going back to school for a year or something like that, and now the stars are aligning, or you're thinking about, buying a house, or you're thinking about, ending your relationship. If it's something long-term that you've been thinking about, this is the time to do it because you're getting this push from Uranus and Mars in the universe. So, if you've kind of been procrastinating or you've made little baby changes along the way this past 6 months, then this is the time to actually pull the Band-Aid off, rip it off, and make that change if it's something that's been long-term and you've been procrastinating. But if it's something that you're just shooting off your hip and something that is sudden, that you're just kind of embarking on that change, like I said before, it's going to affect you for months and months, and it's going to be hard to undo because you haven't really thought about it. You haven't built the foundation for this new change. And again, with Saturn, it's going to affect you for a long time. All right, so, the frustration energy is returning, which we've been dabbling with. Last week was a little bit of a reprieve, but it has been challenging because last week was just kind of like June 22nd. We just got out of Mercury retrograde. And so travel is still affected, especially for those of you that have any Gemini in your chart at all. The third house is affected, which rules short-term travel and cars and things like that. So I had a heck of a time. I had a blast seeing my son in DC last week, but I had a heck of a time. Delays on both ways. Had an issue with renting a Mustang that just got some flat tires before I had to return it to the car rental place. So for those of you that have Gemini anywhere in your chart, which is anywhere in your sun, moon, or rising, be careful with short-term travel in cars, for the next week or so. And then I want to have a correction. Last week I mentioned, the stars within, it's not the stars within us, it's the stars within you. So if you're interested in pulling your free chart off of astro.com and seeing what it really means, I highly recommend that you get the book, The Stars Within You. It's an excellent, excellent resource. And for those of you that have Cancer, anything moon, rising, or sun, there's, it's playing in your second house, which is the house of money. So you're going to have some restrictions and limitations with money, or maybe have to be more creative about your resources and how you manage them. and stuff like that. And if you want to know more about, Uranus or Saturn, pull your chart and see what house it is, and then go to the book and look up what that house represents, okay? So hopefully you find that helpful. Now, what's going on in the collective, besides the fact that air travel has been an issue, and then there's also summer storms, especially if you're flying through Chicago or any of these places that have this kind of temperamental weather, but also cars, right? I talked about cars, right, in the third house. Not only if you're a Gemini are you being affected with that nationwide. I've been talking to so many people, but there is that as a collective, we're still dealing with the lack and scarcity that this fear-based virus created, because most of us didn't really travel heavily for the last year and a half, and now we are just jonesing to be outside. It's summer, the kids are off of school, a lot of teachers, right, have the whole summer off. And, we're dying to get out there, and especially for those of us that haven't seen our loved ones in a couple years, we want to visit them, right? And then so everybody has the same idea. And I've told several clients the summer is not the best time to travel, because we're still in eclipse season until the Cancer new moon on July 9th comes, and then we're going to be out of eclipse season. So there's just a lot of turmoil. I mean, someone was telling me this morning that at the car dealership, because I was having issues with getting my oil changed. So again, be careful, guys, with cars. But essentially, somebody was telling me that people are getting in fights on airplanes. Luckily, the entire row of our airplane, while we were waiting on the tarmac for a couple hours, we actually became friends. But there is that kind of aggressive energy. There's this conflict energy, there's this frustration energy, and also for you to even get a flight, it's double, because whether they're making up for, last year, us not flying that much, or there's also a lot of pilots that are in shortage, especially American guys. I do not recommend that you fly American Airlines. It was the worst experience. They're making their pilots renew their license on their own. They're not cross-trained on the Airbus and the other airplanes, and so there's a shortage, and they're canceling 80 flights a day. So if, please share this video with anybody that you feel would benefit, that wants to know what's going on in the collective, that, you feel like would benefit from this message. So please like, comment, and share, and spread the word. And so that's what I want to say about that. But essentially, with the car rentals, if you can even get a car rental, it's like triple the price. I remember, not paying more than $50 a day for a car rental back in the day, previous to COVID. And now we are paying $80 to $120 just for a regular car. So if I were you guys, September and October is going to be an amazing time to travel. That is my recommendation. If you can swing it with your schedule, I would wait and travel in the fall. It's the best time, especially if you are interested in traveling internationally. That's the best time to travel, is September and October, before these wonky energies come back in November and December. So as a collective, we are going to be affected by this Neptunian Mercury energy. I feel like this week we're starting to really come out of that Mercury retrograde funk. There's more socialization, there's more communication. But essentially what we're doing is we are, Mercury is really moving straight forward ahead, and the pace is going to get a little bit faster. But next week we're going to experience that Mercury-Neptune third pass, so there's going to be some confusion coming back. And like I said, I think we're going to be able to really breathe a sigh of relief after we get through the new moon in Cancer. But unfortunately, with that Uranus and Saturn, we're having squares in opposition to Venus, which is the planet of love and money. And so most of us are going to see some restrictions and limitations in our relationships, in our finances. So just a heads up, right now some people might be experiencing it ahead of time, depending on where it hits your chart and where Venus is and in whatever house it is in your birth chart. But just a heads up, relationships and finances are going to be affected when we have the new moon in Cancer on July 9th. All right, guys. Well, it's Renee Asiri with InsideJobHealing.com. Love you guys. Hit me up. Tell me what's up, and enjoy your week.